Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rewind and Reflect, where we believe in the universal truth that there is no such thing as coincidences or mistakes. And we are here to share our experience on that with you. And my name is Deb Miller.
Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Doyle.
How are you, Sue?
Well, I'm sitting here looking at myself on this camera. Hopefully, people listen to us rather than watch us.
Yes.
My hair has just grown exponentially because we're in this cycle of rain and clouds and all that jazz. And you're experiencing it because you're up here up north. And I want the audience to know that we finally saw each other the other day for the first
We
time. And
did.
oh my
That was,
God,
I know.
a
So
long
that
time.
so we saw each other last year in Newport just for a quick cup of
Yes.
coffee.
Yes,
But we
Queen.
hadn't started the podcast at this point.
Yes. It was in
So,
its infancy stages.
yes, it was just kind of like an idea. It was in utero, we'll call it. And then and then we
That ship has sailed.
yes, now it's like a full grown. Well, now we're going in the teenage years, which is really
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
But
We
so
potty trained for a little while and here we are, right in
yeah, but you know
puberty.
what? Sometimes we digress and we go backwards a little bit, but
Yes. You got to spend the majority of the afternoon together a few days ago.
yes, I finally met your husband for the first time.
And he met Kev, and I saw Kev, and
Yeah.
it's been great. And I saw your brother and a couple of, I met somebody that was in your book, which was
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
Um, and some, and then another woman who was, like her name was
Yeah.
like, gee, like familiar to me. And then as we sort of unfolded the story, it was somebody from your childhood, like our childhood, so to speak, but yours really, um, that you were neighbors or something
No,
prior
her
to your
parents.
family moving to Avon.
Yeah. Well, my parents and Bethany's parents were very, very good friends and they got divorced. And then so Bethany and her sister and her mother moved in with us when we lived in West Hartford on Raymond Road for
Okay.
a year until she could, her mom could get her feet on the ground and get a place of their own. So I've known Beth and her family since, oh my gosh, I mean, I was a kindergartner when they moved in.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so I don't even, we like refer to each other as cousins because we're just so
Right.
integrated in each other's lives.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, so that was fun to introduce you. And I kind of strategically planned who would be there based on who, who I knew would connect spiritually. I just,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, because every single person that was there um, really played such an important part in my life. And all three of you guys, so Bethany, Kristen, and Sue, um, we were super close, and then we parted for years, and then we reconnected. And
Yeah.
I just thought it was so beautiful because it just goes to show that there are chapters in our lives where our life looks very much one way and we have the same people in it and and then it can change and all of a sudden you're like, wow, where did those people go? But then
Yeah.
they come back and it's all meant to be that way. Like,
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I something just popped into my mind where I'm like, well, maybe we just wouldn't have been able to grow together.
right.
That we needed to let each other be free to grow and come into exactly who we were meant to be to come back around. But I even feel like Sean and Kevin are very similar
Yeah.
and connected. And even looking at the pictures, I'm thinking to myself,
Oh no.
We married the same person. They're like the same person with the cut off like t-shirts and the and just the
Yeah,
sort of all over the place energy, but just
it's the rough and
both,
tumble. Yeah,
yes, rough and tumble. They both have this, will die for the people in their life kind of
sure.
attitude.
Yeah, but don't take shit from anybody else. Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah,
Yes. And don't have a, Kevin's made a like sort of an under the breath comment when he and Sean were riding around the little Jeep mule thing. And Sean just started laughing because he's like, that's exactly something that I would say.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Like
And
he said
so it
something
was
like,
good.
"This is a bunch of bullshit." Something was
Yeah.
going on, and he just didn't agree with it, and he's
Yeah.
just, "All right,
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally." I know. Yeah,
Yeah. So it was great. It
you
was
never
great.
have to. You never have to guess where you stand with those two. I
Neither one
mean,
of them. No, no,
and
no.
no, you know exactly where you
You
stand.
sometimes get to know where you stand without even asking.
Yes, indeed. But I'd so much rather that than have to
Yes.
have somebody who puts on
Yes.
a phony air and is like you don't know who they are and so it's like you just always sometimes it's like whoa,
Yeah.
step back, but
Yeah.
I'd much rather it be like this is who I am, this is the good, bad,
Right.
and the indifferent, and take it or leave it, but man, get out of my
Yeah.
way if you're not going to be, it's like I don't have time. I have people in my life that really matter, so if you're not going to accept me for who I am, and I like that. It can be
And
kind of
it's really pretty interesting how the life cycle of that happens because, so before we turned on the camera or before we turned on the recording, you and I were talking a little bit about, just that thing is that as you get older, and you know what, for young people who do this and stay on this track for their whole lives, God bless you. I was not that evolved, so I didn't. Mine had to come through a process of trial and error kind of thing,
Mhm.
thinking one thing, but really no, the
Sure.
whole spectrum. But it speaks to people always say as you get older, you give less fucks, right? And
Yeah.
you're just like you're just tired of the bullshit and you just want to be real. And I think that Sunday when we were together really dialed that in. It's you surround yourself with people who just have a like-minded spirit and
Yeah.
energy to you, and it's so effortless and people that don't know each other, because I didn't know too many people,
No.
very integrate really easily. Like, again, there's doesn't have to be a lot of introduction and airs. And I mean, I
Right.
don't think one person asked me what I do for a living, which is
Yeah.
so refreshing. Do you know
Right.
what I mean? And it was just sort of we integrated and we found these because of the shared spirit, right? We found these commonalities to talk about that had nothing to do with superficial shit.
Right. Right. I know it was so good. And so this just came into my mind. Remember how earlier I was saying, like, there was all three of my friends that were there kind of woven in and out of my life. Well, Bethany came back into my life about 2 weeks before it was Christmas of 2012. Okay. When we saw each other for the first time in like 10, 15 years.
In Walmart. Oh no,
No,
you
not
met me.
you. No, this is Bethany.
Bethany. Sorry. Did you meet her in like Caldor or something? Because you met me in
No,
Target. I mean
no,
Walmart.
no, but that would have been hilarious. But she, her mom, all right, so I had moved to Farmington Woods, and her mother, Ruth, had moved to Farmington Woods, and that's how we reconnected. So on Christmas Day, we stopped by Ruth's and saw all the family, Bethany and
Mm-hmm.
Sister Michelle and John and everybody. And we instantly reconnected, okay? 2 weeks
Yeah.
later, on January 8th, not even 2 weeks, is when Hunter was diagnosed. So Bethany came into my life right when Hunter was diagnosed. Kristen then left my life soon after he was diagnosed. And Bethany, because they live, Hunter was at Children's Medical Center in
Mm-hmm.
downtown Hartford, and I lived in Avon. And Bethany and John live on the Boulevard in West Hartford, so right off the highway. So when Hunter
Nice,
was sick,
easy, convenient in and out. Like you didn't have to be at the hospital for 15 hours, 24 hours at a time,
I
but
would
not have to go all the way back to Avon.
on my way home, I'd many times just stop at their house, and they're both amazing cooks, and they would have the most delicious meal for me. Like, and they just would fill me up so much,
Yes.
like my heart and my soul and my spirit, and with nutritious food and welcoming.
Yeah.
And they would take my dog Tika, because if I was at the hospital for so many hours, they would watch her a lot. And so that door to that friendship reopened right at a time when I needed that stability. I needed to be
Yeah.
able to leave the hospital and go to a home that was surrounded with love and caring people and comfort and food and all of that, or just sit on their lovely porch and look out. It was just so
Yeah.
healing and beautiful for me. I actually wrote about them in the book too. Like I
Hmm.
told, and then lo and behold, you then came back into my life. And then Kristen came back into my life.
Interesting.
So it all looped. They all had to
Yeah.
happen exactly how it did. It
Yeah.
all,
What I am in awe of the most with you is there's no resentment there. Like for some reason, for whatever reason, and it could have just been bad timing that Kristen needed to exit,
sure.
um, and, for me, it was a long time. And I do remember too, sort of having there, there's three women in my life that, really, really just know exactly who I am. You, my friend Darcy, and this woman, Jill, my friend Jill. Um, but Jill and I had a period where we were not in each other's lives
Mhm.
at all. And then again, it was this, I don't even know how we sort of came back around. Um, and let me be clear, I don't see any one of you in person
Yeah.
often.
Yeah.
Um, but the shared spirit and the shared energy and the effortlessness and is there constantly. And so yeah, I don't remember how my friend Jill and I came back to be, but it was we picked right up like nothing ever
Yeah.
happened.
Well, I
Um,
feel like we're called into other people's lives
mhm,
for a reason. And
mhm,
then we're called back into lives. Now, there's many, 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 many women that I was close with at one time that, you know, I probably won't reconnect with, because it's just not meant to be that way,
correct,
and
correct.
and not that I hold any ill feelings to them, but it's just, and if they do
Yeah, it's
come
just
back in my life,
yeah,
it's meant to be as well, but sometimes it's just not. So when a friend does come back into your life, into your orbit, into your inner circle,
right.
that is such a gift. And that
I
is
agree.
such, like, you have history together, and you've had history together, you've had a falling out, and then you're back together, and there's a reason for that, and it must be cherished, because you know that you can survive the falling out. You've survived the
Hmm.
falling out. So now you're back, your friendship is back together, and you're like, okay, whatever that happened, it's over. It's fine. Like, let's take our life
Yeah,
experiences and then as grown women help each other through what's going to happen in the future. But like we've talked about before on this podcast, sometimes, some people just aren't equipped to help another human being in a time of crisis. And that's okay. That's
I
okay,
agree. I
and
agree with you.
if something comes up and, one of my friends just eh, bows out, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
You can't expect everybody to be everything. Everybody has their good, everybody has their bad. And I should
Yeah,
say bad. They should say things that they need to, develop.
I agree. Like, yeah, I don't think that there's really anything bad. I think I believe that I truly believe that I would not have been able to support you the way you needed to be supported through your addiction.
Hmm.
I would have been very judgmental. But I also believe that you came back in my life at the time where I had to learn about forgiveness.
Mm.
And, I think I've mentioned this before, but I remember I was in the supermarket and I was on the phone with you after we reconnected and I was crying and I was just saying, I'm really sorry,
Yeah.
and it was one of those things where I was like, it's just one of those things that I needed to experience to be able to really just remember who I am at the core, right?
Hmm.
And I think, obviously there was a reason why we lost touch. I can't even put my finger on if something even happened. It was just sort of one of those things, but I do believe that, I needed to learn how to practice forgiveness of for my to myself
Hmm.
because of some of the behaviors I exhibited, or some of the things that I did, or some of the people I latched onto, thinking that that's who I was, when in actuality I really wasn't. And when I started to clear those things out that weren't really serving me, you came back, Jill came back.
Yeah.
So I made room for it too, and so it's sort of this journey that you're sort of picking up and dropping off and picking up and dropping off. And as you go farther down the path, you start picking up, you start knowing who you are. Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
start only picking up those things that, serve your higher purpose, serve your higher goals, serve your higher energy and your vibration.
That's right. But I want you also to think about how there's no coincidences, okay?
Oh, agreed.
And I say that because you would not have been somebody supportive during my addiction, that you just said that, right? And I get it. Like I was so withdrawn during that time. I hid from everybody, okay? But fast forward, you entered into a phase in your life where you needed somebody who had knowledge of substance use disorder.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Agree
And
with you.
guess who popped up,
Yeah.
because that was
Mhm.
all aligned. It was like, okay, the girls need to be reintroduced now because
Mhm.
there's going to be some information needed from a source
Correct.
that is familiar with recovery
Yeah.
and substance use disorder.
Yeah.
And then, and so again, it's like there's no mistake. It was meant to be that way. And now we find ourselves having we have a lot in common. We always did, but
Yes.
now it's like as adult women with significant others that are very similar, like we support each other,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I can't think offhand of anybody else that I have in my life that is quite aligned with regards to significant others like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I have a lot
I
of friends
agree.
who have
Yeah,
significant
no,
others, but
completely agree. Yeah, I
yeah.
get it.
So,
But then, when we all got together as a group too, a few days ago, the energy coming off of these other two women
I know.
were just like very much in line with me
Yes.
and my
Yeah.
energy. And I was like, it was like we had known each other forever.
Yeah. Bethany is very spiritually evolved. She's very, her mother passed away a few years ago, and she was very, very close with her mom. We all were. Her mother was part of our very close family. Um, and so Bethany started doing a lot of spiritual work.
Hmm.
That's what shines from her. Kristen is in like, she's very open to it, but she's not studying it the way that we are. But
She's
you,
gathering. I got the feeling that she's just
yes,
gathering
she's
and she's
gathering.
appreciative to be around people, women who are a little farther down the path.
Yeah, she's very
Um,
fascinated by it. And
but
she's open to it.
she's really very much there.
Yes, totally. So when I introduced the two of you, and of course your history, you're both adopted.
Yes,
So you were
that was
like,
fascinating to me.
what? And then she
Yeah,
has her own story of how she found her birth parent, but that didn't work out. And you have your own thing where you're like, nope, not interested, don't care.
yeah.
So it's
Hmm.
so interesting because you come from two different places, but you have immediately this bond because you were both
Correct.
adopted.
Yeah, which comes with its own energy
Yeah.
and
So the
spirit.
two of you are
Yes.
meant to be together and you've got very
Yeah.
similar, you
Hmm.
know, Kristen is just, she's just this lovely light that giggles at everybody and everything. She just
Hmm.
is she's just so fun, and
Yeah.
lighthearted. But she's on a spiritual journey. And I think that, you connecting with her is going to help that as well.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. I just think and I find too that I think with that just comes deeper conversation, deeper, understanding of like just what it means to be human
Mhm.
and um and it's just, when you really start to clear the clutter, clear it
Yeah.
away and really make an effort and make a point of, stripping away the things that don't serve and the people, and not in a mean way, but just you start to gravitate towards people that have that same light, that same energy, that same desire, that same purpose, living with intention kind of thing.
Yeah.
um and it become and it in life, relationships, gatherings, conversation, to me all becomes so much easier
Yeah.
and effortless and less forced and less put on airs and things like that.
Right. And then you can really have the deep, important conversations.
Yes.
Like you and Kristen also like, so older brother, you both are
Mm-hmm.
brother, sister, right? Adopted, you were in Avon, she was in Simsbury. Both have two children, a son and a daughter, both divorced, the husband, the father. You don't know what challenges may be in front of you with regards to your children and their children
Mm-hmm.
because there's a biological part that you do not know about.
Correct.
So who knows that you guys might be coming into each other's lives just to help each other with stuff like that,
Yes.
and
Agreed.
because really, do you know what a gift it is to have somebody else, another woman that is like pretty much mirrored your life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you both have biological children with their father, but you you now
So,
have,
you know, I look at my kids as being, 50% of a blank slate. Like
yeah,
I'm 100% a blank slate, but
they're 50%.
yeah.
Yeah, and same with Kristen.
Hmm.
Now you have
Yeah,
some
so it
kids
is,
really.
what now, that the light bulb kind of just went off here where, what, you're right. I think, could have very well just come into each other's lives because at some point each of us are going to have to, it would be nice to ally yourself and rely on somebody or just converse with somebody who is in the exact same spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because that's, you have a pretty mirrored life.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it was just so good to see everybody and just to um be outside, and we were at the little wine Sunset Hill Vineyard in Lime, and just beautiful. Didn't you think it was so pretty there? Like the energy
So
of the
pretty.
lovely.
So pretty. So
And
pretty,
it's
but
really nice.
every time that you walked by or every time I had to like touch you,
I
I
know.
like held your hand and I held your arm and I hugged
Oh,
you and I couldn't let go and
I know. I love that so much. I was like,
great.
I just, it's like we just, our whole aura and our, everything is
Yeah.
just like back. It's like we're real. It's like, oh, life is
Mm-hmm.
how it's meant to be.
Yeah,
But one of
100
the,
agreed.
and the funniest thing is like you have a really good memory. There's things I know
It's a
that
blessing and a curse, Deborah. It is a
ugh,
blessing and a curse.
I
There are
know,
times
but
where I wish I didn't.
I know, I bet. I can understand that. But what my father is going to be so proud of when I tell him is that you remembered the claw. And I get the claw from
Oh,
my father.
all right. So we've got to divulge. So the claw. So listen, Debbie,
We're
first of all,
just
I
gonna
call her Debbie, and everybody at the party was like, "Who's Debbie?" I'm like, "Who's Deb?" Just like who's Sue, like you don't call me Susan, you call me Sue. So Debbie has the second toe that's quite longer than the first toe. So truth be told, and I'm going to say that I have Fred Flintstone feet. All my toes, I have sneakers on right now, but all my toes are the same. Are the same
stubs.
size. They just go straight across and they're stubs. Like
There's
my
stubs.
husband always says, does the lady who paints your toenails give you a half price because
Because
your
you have
toenails
half
are so
those.
small? She's painting them on so you can actually see that I have a toenail, right? So I just like so we're walking around. I had sneakers on. I think you had flip flops on, or you were barefoot, and I'm
I
like,
was
oh my
barefoot
god.
because I'm trying to be as one with the earth.
So we had our picture taken. I said, oh, we got to have our pictures taken, and I looked down because of course I have to like cross my feet and do the skinny arm and the whole 9 yards. I'm like, oh, the claw. So Debbie's second toe is literally like a finger, and she would like we would have sleepovers and she would pinch me. Like she would take and she could literally pick up utensils and books and shit off the floor with this claw. And so apparently this was inherited by from her dad. And
Yeah.
so now we have to tell George that I mean the
First
claw.
of all, everybody I know, including Kevin, is horrified by the claw. Horrified. And my dad and I have claw fights. We love it. We are so proud of our claw. We like go at each other's claws. And yeah, I never have to bend over. I just pick up a piece of
Yeah,
clothing.
pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm like a part monkey, I guess. I don't
And
know.
like real objects. I'm not
Yes,
just talking like real
yes.
objects.
I could pick up my
Hmm.
coffee cup with my claw toe. I really could. I don't, and it is, my mother is horrified by it. Kevin, if I come at him with it, he screams and runs. Like he just is so horrified by it. And when you brought that up, you're like, oh no, the claw. I was like, you remember that I have the
Course I remember. Oh my God, that thing haunted me for years.
I'm always pinching up,
Years.
and my dad,
Years you terrified me with that
yeah,
foot.
my dad still tries to pinch my mom with the claw. She hates it. Oh my God, she's horrified by it. And it's just hilarious. Yeah, so I appreciate you remembering that, and George will be so proud. He
I
always
love
says it's a
George.
sign of intelligence, Deb. Don't ever let
It
anybody
is.
say
It
different.
is. Supposedly that is I've heard that for my whole life. So apparently I am as dumb as a bag of rocks because all my toes are basically the same size. But yeah, I've heard that if your second toe, the toe that's next to your big toe is longer than your big toe, it is a sign of intelligence.
Yes, but my SATs would disagree, and so would all of my school, my report cards and schooling. But that's okay. I guess,
It's all right.
yeah. I'm not I don't have it up here maybe, but I think I have it in here. So
You have both. You have both. You have both. I don't know
well,
the last time I was called upon to talk about a parallelogram. So I think we're doing just fine.
yeah, well, look at you even remembering a word like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, every once in a while when I'm teaching class, I have to say parallel or perpendicular, and then I feel
Okay.
like I've used some schooling. But,
Yes. Okay,
you
that makes
know, yeah, it was oh my God, the claw. I can't even get over it. But even seeing Kevin, I fell into this is my person, like these are my
yeah.
people.
This is
Kind of
home.
kind of feel he's home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even when there was somebody there related to him said, "How do you guys know each other?" I'm like, "How
Yeah.
did you not know who I was?" kind of
I know.
thing. Like, and it's just yeah, there's this real. And here's what I'm going to say as we sort of come to a close. I don't know. I'm going to venture to guess that the answer is probably no. In the When we were younger, we would not have had an appreciation for a connection. We didn't know what the connection was. We didn't have an appreciation for it, but we sought it, and now so incredibly grateful for it. I think when you're younger, not you, but people are younger, you don't explore that.
Mhm.
Or you're not grateful for it, or you take it for granted. And I think when the universe brings you back together, you explore that connection deeper and you become more grateful for it. And then what happens is the things that aren't in alignment with you do fall off. And you can feel that heaviness leaving.
I agree. I also feel like there has to be some maturity and some life experiences that come into play
Agreed.
when you
Hmm.
reconnect later in life, because I'm not sure how much we would might how much we would have in common with somebody who has been married to the same person for, all these years, raised their children together, done the thing. We're more soul aligned with people who have had difficulties or
Yeah.
had multiple different pathways in their life so that we
Hmm.
can say, I get you. I know why that
Yeah.
happened. I know why you did what you did. I know, like, we understand because we're not on that one alignment.
Yeah.
Some
And
people,
you can come back with no judgment.
for sure, absolutely. And some people are in their life with their significant other, with the same group of friends, do the same thing. They holiday together. They listen to me like I'm from England. They holiday together.
Hey, holiday.
They vacation together, their kids grow up together, like all of that, and that's great because that is what they chose to do when they came on this earth. They needed that stability,
Hmm.
that this, that, the other thing, and that's
Right.
lovely and wonderful. But we needed to go through a whole bunch of other things in order to grow enough to really be
Hmm.
um, evolved enough to come to this with kindness and respect and a loving way to teach each
Hmm.
other and show each other that we're not broken. We never have been broken. you know, we never have been broken. We were exactly
Right.
where we needed to be, how we needed to be, so that we could get to the part of our life that the best of us is showing through.
Amen. Good
Yeah.
place to
So,
good place to finish up.
yes.
That was beautiful.
So don't shut the door on people that try to come back into your life. There's a reason.
There's
There's,
a reason. There is a reason.
yeah.
Have faith that the reason, that it's a positive
Yes. It's a
thing. Have
gift.
faith. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
gift. I
But
agree.
if you're feeling some negative, weird vibration, emotion, whatever, it's okay to not engage at that point too. You got to really
Hmm.
listen to your instincts. So
Yeah, I think you both have to be aligned to it.
yeah, absolutely. And you'll
Agreed.
know,
Yeah.
you just know, you know. So, all right, my friends.
Well, I was so that it's, a couple of days just filled my cup being in your physical presence, really was a gift.
I know, I feel the same. I felt weird, not weird, but you know, when we first saw each other and we were giving each other that long hug, and Kristen and Sean, who had never met each other, were just kind of waiting for us to disengage so we could introduce, like the introductions could be made, but we couldn't stop hugging each
Couldn't
other.
not stop. Yeah. I'm
And
like,
she's like,
well,
"Hi, I'm Kristen." And he's like, I didn't
yeah.
know like introduce themselves, but
And I'm like, wait, I'm not over. I'm not done
I
yet.
know. I know. So it was really
Done yet.
beautiful and lovely. But
Yeah.
I will be seeing you more this summer, which is great.
Yes, for sure. For
Um,
sure.
and when I come back here, I want some sunshine, man. This is like,
Oof, it's
although it's
been a
starting to
rough
clear up
go.
here a little bit, so I can at least get out and take a walk. But it's like
Yeah.
60 and rainy.
Yeah. And it's the middle of
Come on,
June.
Connecticut, get with
Um,
it. Come on, Northeast. Get your shit together. Get the
Yeah,
sun.
exactly. Get your shit together. But we would love to hear, like, if anybody out there reconnected with somebody, um, what was your experience? What are your thoughts on it? Um, or anything else you want to talk about. It's Rewind and Reflect with us. The and is spelled out at gmail.com. You can message myself or Deb on social media. Anything you want to talk about, any subjects you want to, have us touch upon, anything that speaks to you that we talk about. We'd love, love, love some feedback and to hear from all of you.
We've been getting a lot of really positive feedback, and we're going to kind of put together a little thing about people's what they're saying and their
Yeah.
feedback, which is great. And please don't forget to subscribe.
Subscribe to the show and share the show. Share it with somebody. If you hear something that speaks to you and lands with you, send it to
Share the
somebody.
show and share your light. How's that?
Yes, yes. Till next
Namaste.
time,
Love
love
you all.
you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.